Hi, today I'm going to show you some mobility exercises that you can do for your toes and your foot and your ankle. And these exercises will help to build intrinsic foot strength. So we're going to start by standing here, and we're going to do some movement of our toes. So we're going to stand flat. We're going to breathe in. We're going to push the air down into our belly and stand with a little bit of tension in your body, and then lift the big toe and put it down. The goal with this is you want to lift the toe without doing a lot of ankle movement. We're just working the toes. So lift the toe and down. And do this about 10 times. Up, down, up, down. And you want to try to lift as high as you possibly can. If you're finding that your other toes are coming up, you can hold them down and lift and down. And this will just train your brain to understand what it feels like when your only one toe is lifting. So up and down, up and down, up and down. So we'll do that about 10 times. After that, you're gonna hold your big toe and smush it into the floor, and then lift your other toes. And again, you don't want to do a lot of rotation of your ankles, so we'll just lift and down. See this? If this comes up, you want to make sure that that stays down, so you can hold it down as you bring your other toes up. Right? But you want to try to teach your brain to recognize what that feels like. And you do that 10 times. And then we'll lift all of our toes, spread our toes as wide as possible, and then slowly bring down each toe individually back down to the ground. Lift all of them up. And you can do this one foot at a time. I sometimes find that my right foot works a little bit better than my left foot. So sometimes I like to isolate these one at a time. You can also, add a little help, like that's what that feels like, and that's what that feels like, and that's what that feels like. So you can help yourself sort of understand what the feeling is. So those are the important exercises in the toes. The other thing that you can work on is a practice called a short foot. So I like to just stand here, and then I'm lifting from my arches. So I'm keeping the tripod of my foot, the tripod here, these points on the ground, and then trying to shorten that foot so that my arch comes up. And you can practice that. And sometimes your toes are going to want to curl in, but try not to let that happen. So keep your toes spread as you can lift. I can do this a little bit better on my right foot, and my left foot's a little more challenging, but that's the practice, right? So lift. Again, you can do that one at a time as well. The other thing you can do to work on your intrinsic foot strength is ankle circles. And for this ankle circles, these are controlled articulate rotations. So this is, you want to try to get to your fullest range of circle, and you don't want to so much rotate at the knee. You want to keep your knee stable and just rotate at the foot. So here, I like to hold on. Let me change the camera angle just slightly. I can put one hand underneath my foot and then grab the forearm of my other hand, and then place my hand onto my shin so that I can keep my knee stable. So I don't want to rotate here, I just want to rotate from the ankle. So from here, I'm going to lift up, I'm going to flex my foot, and then tilt to the right as far as I can go, tilting, go all the way until I can go to the very edge of that range, and then tilt inward and then back up. And then try that again, go to the one side, tilt as far as you can, and then around the other direction. And after doing that about 5 times, as many as you feel is good for you, then go the other direction. So you're going to tilt inward, point the toe, and flex. And when your hand is here, you'll start to notice like, oh, I'm doing a little bit of rotating from here, and just notice that and then try not to do that. So you're just trying to move from the ankle all the way around and back up. So that is some ankle and toe exercises. So what we're going to do to increase the dorsiflexion of our big toe is something called PAILS and RAILs. So PAILS stands for progressive angular isometric loading. RAILs stands for regressive angular isometric loading. And the process begins with stretching. So you're going to stretch for 2 minutes. What this does, it increases your stretch tolerance, and it starts to actually make some changes in the muscle that will help you to retain that length that you're stretching to. So first you stretch for 2 minutes, and then you start doing progressive angular isometric loading. So that progressive angle, by stretching this side, we're lengthening this side. So we're going to be working on that stretch and overriding the stretch reflex on that side. And that requires a little bit of tension in your body. So you're going to hold that pretty hard. And I will explain that as I'm going through it. And then as you're pushing, that's the progressive angle, we're going to be pushing, stretching this, and then after about 10 seconds of doing that, we're going to work the regressive angle, which means this closing angle. So we're going to try to pull up. So first we're pushing in, and then we're going to try to pull up for about 10 seconds with about the same amount of intensity. So if we want lasting change, we actually need to put about 70-75% force into whatever we're doing. Even if you're lifting weights, you need to, if you want to increase your muscle mass, you need to work at about a 70 to 80% of your 1 rep max. So let's try that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this block up against the wall. You can use a doorway, whatever you need to, and I'm going to get to the full range that I can, and I'm going to stand up, and then I'm going to hold this for 2 minutes. So I want to get a nice stretch. Maybe, I can maybe even do a little bit more. I want to make sure that I get a nice full stretch. So within this 2 minutes, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to relax, and I'm not going to have a lot of tension in my body, and I'm just going to feel relaxed and just get myself a nice stretch as much as I can, but not too much, right? I'm doing a passive stretch. So let's imagine that we've held it for 2 minutes, and actually really do time yourself doing this. Then I'm going to push, gas pedal into the floor and push my toes, and I'm going to start ramping it up to about 10% tension, 20% tension, 40% tension, 60% tension, 70% tension, 80%. Let's say I'm doing that as hard as I possibly can for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now I'm going to rails it. So now I'm pulling my toes away from the block, and I'm bringing it to my ankle. So I'm going to do that with as much tension as I can, 80% of my tension of my body, and I'm going to do that for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then relax and sink into that stretch a little bit more. I can repeat this process a couple of times, but that is basically the extent of it. So I'm doing that on both toes, and then I can shake it out a little bit. I can counter stretch as I need to. Okay. Do some ankle circles again, flex my toes. Yeah. So that is pails and rails. You could do that on both of your feet, and that ultimately over time should help you with this dorsiflexion of your big toe.